Hi there, and a warm welcome to the news review segment on the AM Show. The AM Show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Waylead Company is your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit here in Accra. You want to invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Properties, we provide you 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Why don't you give us a call now? 0240-111-119 or 0504-499-999. You can also visit our website, www.waylead.org, for more information. Ben tells you more.
Well, let me tell you now about this fact. Every year, thousands of Ghana's brightest minds seek better prospects abroad, leaving a gap in our workforce. The question is, how can Ghana inspire its talent to stay right here in our country? Well, joining us for that conversation, we have David Ofosu-Dorte, Professor Mary Setrana, and Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former president of Mauritius, at the 12th edition of the Ishmael Yamson and Associates Business Roundtable to discuss managing the talent exodus, leveraging private-public partnerships for growth. The date is the 7th of May, 2025. The venue is the Labadi Beach Hotel. The time, 9 a.m. Now, to register, text your name and organization to 0530-117-202. Or you can shoot a message to info@ieyamson.com. That is info@ieyamson.com. Well, let's get into our newspapers now. And shortly, one of our guests will be interacting with us. But for now, I am here with Sweetie Abochi. We have a stack of papers this morning that we're going to be contemplating. What do you have? I
want to start from the back page of the Daily Graphic.
No.
Because Ghana, go!
No, we're not starting from the back page of the Daily Graphic. I'm just thinking, though.
No, I think the Ghana Black Stars.
I'm going to give you a minute to share any thoughts. Well, so here's my take. Often, when issues come up, it's normal that people will take sides. But sometimes we have to take off our party colors and look at the issues devoid of any partisan or favoritism here and there. The bigger picture.
The bigger picture, Ben. I'm talking about this Adu-Boahene case. Yesterday in the newsroom, I was part of the people who were saying that, wow, the Attorney General just make a press conference. This man was arrested. Who is this man? And why is he a person of interest? And then I read the details. I listen to the Attorney General top story. And then I say to myself, wow, no wonder he says we should brace ourselves for more. There's something he said, rumble something in the coming days. We did a workshop, Media Foundation for West Africa did a workshop on illicit financial flows, and I was part of it. And the very first red line or red flag you see is that company in the name of BNC, Bureau of National Communications Limited. If you don't have any evil intention,
a state institution,
you really shouldn't do that. That was the very first flaw. Of course, I'm not going to get into it because this is a matter in court, and of course, the lawyers will get into it and do all that. But as a citizen watching this, the amount of taxpayers' monies. And you notice when the Attorney General was speaking, before he got to the money, it's almost as if he was choking. He had to clear his throat and all that. And I said to myself, no. There has to be a point we get to as Ghanaians where we remove the NDC and the NPP flag and we match. I don't want to say criminals and refer to him, but criminals, if we find out that indeed you're a criminal, we march them to the courts and they face justice, whether or not you're NDC or NPP. That's my stance.
We're not going to, in this jurisdiction, unlike in some other jurisdictions, it is guilty until proven or innocent until proven guilty. In other jurisdictions,
so when you are found
it is
guilty,
different. It makes an interesting case, listening to the different dynamics. However, in a court of law, many interesting things can happen because sometimes prima facie evidence may not necessarily translate into a conviction. However, if you look at the thread of activity, the sums involved versus purchases made, real estate, board, of directors and all of that. All I can say is it makes for interesting conversation, but no one is going to hang Mr. Adu-Boahene or his wife. What I do find interesting, though, my sources tell me that, you remember Professor Adu-Boahene, who was flag bearer for the NPP in 1992, Charles Adu-Boahene, the former deputy finance minister, was his son, and the information I'm picking up, and if anyone knows otherwise, you could correct me, I would gladly see it, is that Mr. Adu-Boahene is also, because I'm saying Adu-Boahene because I see the spelling of his name is not the usual Adu-Boahene. So I'm just wondering, is that the case? And if it were, the good old professor and his legacy versus what is now, proceeding after him, I don't know, but it is what it is. But if I had my way, which I don't, if I had my way, and I'm not speaking specifically to this issue, if I had my way, I mean, kind of cheat. Okay, so when I bought on my chrono, yeah, match walk Black Star Square, wow, we are near the water. But of course, that's not.
Someone say you are promoting violence.
No. That's not how the law works.
Yeah.
And I know that's not how it works. So if I had my way, but I don't have my way, and that's it. We must set examples. I don't know, but it is what it is. Anyway.
And that was a mouthful. The words in the press conference, the statement, I mean, from the lawyers of Mr. Adu-Boahene, teaching the Attorney General the kindergarten of law and prosecutorial what's. It's an interesting time to be alive in this country. But I want to get into sports because
here's something interesting. A last bit.
Yeah.
Even as the NDC cracks the whip when it comes to these past officials, I ask myself, though, if current officials also get mired in anything fishy, will they approach it with that same zeal, zest, energy, oral when it comes to NDC officials? Do you get what I mean? So it's all well and good. We can do this, and I'm in support of, even if you've stolen one peswa, you have to account for it. I mean, buying how many state houses, if he did that with his own money, fair and square. But if not, if it's Ghana's money, dude, there are schools under trees, over 5,000. What they go on? But I'm asking, will it be different strokes for different folks? Or will oral when it comes to members of this administration as well? And we'll be watching, for sure.
Well, while we are, should I say, brooding over this, we should also celebrate the Black Stars for that victory they gave us yesterday, 3-0 against Madagascar.
Charlie, right out the project.
Should we start celebrating? Because I've been disappointed by the Black Stars one too many times that I want the third victory before I can start celebrating with the rest of you. I know that this is great. The first one against Chad, now this. The next game, if we emerge victorious, I hope we do, fingers crossed, then I'm going to start wearing my jersey again. Not to say that I'm not being a patriotic citizen or anything, but the number of times the Black Stars have broken my heart,
I've not donned the Ghana jersey in a while, not because of any, but sometimes they've just been downright disappointing. I don't know what has changed.
A lot of times.
I don't know what has changed. If you look at the records, we've not won by some of these margins in a long time. 5-0, 3-0. It's been a one-goal project or losing to teams that formerly we felt would never even rub shoulders with us. This is good, but I'm saying let's hasten slowly. Relax. So
you agree with me?
Let's relax. Let's not get too excited. But these two wins, I think they've made Ghanaians pretty happy. It's been a long time since Ghana had cause to celebrate the Black Stars like this.
Anyway, so on the back page, that story is on the back page of the Daily Graphic, and it says Ghana's Black Stars produced a masterclass in dominance as they cruised to a 3-0 victory over Madagascar in their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier at the Minoun Al RC Stadium in Morocco. I'm sure we all followed that, and congratulations to the Black Stars. Of course, Muftan Nabil Abdullah will tell you I'll bring you all the details of how that game went. On the front page, however, alleged 39.46 million Ghana cedis diversion. Adu-Boahene wife arrested. Deal was on state cyber defense software. And I was just reading around on when this National Signals Bureau Act came into play and what their role is. And I can say that this man did the exact thing that this bureau was set up to prevent. So this is an act to establish a National Signals Bureau to provide integrated, secure signal systems for the national security and intelligence agencies. And this bill was passed by Parliament and signed by the President in 2020. Yeah, so we are just about 4 years, a little over 4 years into this National Signals Bureau Act, and this is where we are. Yesterday, the Attorney General had that press conference. I just want to give out some details here. Dr. Ayene said, while serving as the Director General of BNC in 2018, Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife incorporated a private company with the name, quote, BNC Communication Bureau Limited, unquote, a name similar to the then Bureau of National Communication. And the company, the Attorney General said, had Mr. Adu-Boahene and his wife listed as directors, and they proceed to open a corporate account for that. So other stories, special court to fight Galamsey in Ofing, free sanitary pad intervention, government pledges to source from local producers, that's good news. Party time, Ghana crushed Madagascar 3-0. Let's get into the newspaper now and do some stories. I want to start from the international front. Trump's Pentagon chief slams judge for halting transgender ban. Greenland condemns planned visits by Ashavan's Trump advisor. And special courts to fight Galamsey in the Ofing. This is a story of interest for me. The government will set up special courts for the speedy prosecution of persons cited for illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey in local circles. To that end, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is working with the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, as well as the judiciary, to firm up modalities for the setting up of the courts. But we've all said that if there's a way to fast track, not all, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that perhaps if we're able to do this, then we can prosecute those who are found culpable, and it will also serve as a deterrent to people who want to go into Galamsey because of the effects that the entire Ghanaian population is feeling. So if there are plans underway to actually make this a reality, I want to know how you feel about it.
I mean, how can I feel about this? Let's wait and see how it goes. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So on free sanitary pad intervention...
Because in the end, promises have been made, things have been said. Agronifem, we want to see things happen. That's it.
Okay. Well, they're saying that plans are underway. So they're working together with these ministries, Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Lands and Natural Resources, to fast track. So
usually there's this saying that, we have the saying, something is in the pipeline, right? In this country, the pipeline can be pretty long. So some things, while I see the seriousness of this administration, I'm still taking some things with a pinch of salt and just hoping and praying. Because look, where we are now, it's basically a time bomb we're sitting on. It's ticking. So we either man up or woman up or face the consequences.
Right. Well, let's get on to some other stories now. On a free sanitary pad intervention, government pledges to source from local producers. The government has pledged to source from local producers sanitary pads meant for free distribution to female students in basic and high schools. The intervention is part of the deliberate effort by the government to efficiently use procurement to promote the production and consumption of goods made in Ghana. We already know that taxes on locally produced sanitary pads have been scrapped. So this is good news for local producers in this country who are manufacturing sanitary pads. In a way, it cuts down costs. So, yeah, I like that one. President Mahama swears in reconstituted Armed Forces Council. And of course, the chairperson for that council is Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman. President John Dramani Mahama has sworn in the newly constituted Ghana Armed Forces Council. and urged the members to prioritize ethical leadership and discipline across all ranks of the military. He said that the effectiveness of the armed forces hinged on the character, morale, and professionalism of its personnel, and therefore tasked the 7-member council to live up to their mandate. Quote, "It is not just the weapon or the size of an army that defines its effectiveness, but the character, morale, and professionalism of its personnel." Benjamin Akapo, since you're my guest this morning, I want to know how crucial it is, this role that the Vice President is occupying as the chairman, or should I say chairwoman, of the Ghana Armed Forces Council.
It's interesting for me. I mean, usually you would see vice presidents and the portfolio, at least to the best of my knowledge, would be chairing the police council and all of that. So yesterday, as the processes went through and as she came to speak, I found it pretty interesting, refreshing on certain grounds. I do not, and I have to be clear, I do not know what the structures are, specifically when it comes to the military, because I know that the president is basically in charge of the Ghana Armed Forces. He gives certain directives, and based on advice, they will have to comply with it. I've forgotten the particular terminology. The commander-in-chief, right? So my appreciation of what she is, the role she will play, is limited. But I also know that there's a lot of trust in the vice president, which is why the president even nominated her one more time. The party did, for them to contest in the last election. We can only wish her the best as she handles this portfolio. It will be crucial because there has also been talk about some of the changes, the shake-up in the military establishment, what it could bode with other officers coming to take over, whether it's 1-star generals coming to take over from 2-star generals, what it means for the 2-star generals who may now be supposedly forced into retirement, because you know the military structure, you can't have a junior leading a senior, so to speak. So if a brigadier general is now going to be elevated, what happens to the major general, and all of those dynamics. While these are things that we've seen in the past that has been done, we must also look at it from those angles and what role she would play as vice president in respect of ensuring that we have a seamless transition and that all of them, some people may feel disgruntled, but it's a cyclical thing. It's something we do. How do we manage it to ensure our security is stable? That's my concern.
Your appreciation of it. I just want to link it and congratulate Namibia for their very first female president and female vice president. Way to go. Hopefully the women there don't play catch up like other parts of the world. And let's move on to other stories. Minority accuses Attorney General of abuse of power. Okay, so the minority in Parliament has accused the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dominic Ayine, of abusing his office by interfering in the investigations and weaponizing state institutions against political opponents. Addressing a press conference at Parliament House yesterday, the second deputy minority whip, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, described the conduct of the AG as an overreach that threatens the rule of law and democratic principles. Quote, "The Attorney General is abusing his office in ordering raids and conducting investigations. And the Attorney General is first a legal advisor to the government and an officer of the courts." I'm tempted to say that is an argument they can make because perhaps that is also the strategy of the NDC. They did say we're building the Ghana we want together. So in as much as we don't want to be trying people, alleged criminals and other perpetrators of some crimes in the court of public opinion, I think a lot of Ghanaians can appreciate that they're keeping us updated with these developments as and when information comes to light. But minority are not happy about that. And so they're saying the Attorney General is abusing their power. I'll leave that to the lawyers as well. CPP inaugurates. Ben, quick comments on that. The minority's disagreement with the Attorney General's methodology in terms of giving press conferences, conducting raids, and also the Attorney General clarified that, contrary to what we're reporting, that the national security officers stole the CCTV.
10,000 CDs and all that.
Yeah, he said they didn't take the CCTV. Instead, they took the hard drives. And I was asking myself, so what is the CCTV without the hard drive? What was the hard drive without the CCTV? But he saw, I think it was important enough for him to clarify.
On the, you know, all of these gadgets, they record the information. And so then, as you have that drive, just like a computer's hard drive, you can follow it from there. So
my question is, was it absolutely necessary that he made that clarification that no, we didn't take the CCTV, instead we took the hard drive? But let's listen to Jerry Ahmed Shaib, yesterday's press conference when he registered that displeasure. Let's take a listen to him.
Attorney General is an officer of the court. His interest is to assist the court in dispensing justice when investigators bring their case and evidence. The poster of the new AG undermines this rule. He is no longer acting as an officer of the court, but is instead acting as someone who has conducted his own inquisition, determined guilt of a suspect, and is seeking to force his view or his views on the courts. The practice undermines the role of the Attorney General and undermines the administration of justice. All well-meaning voices that respect the operation of the rule of law should call on it to an end, and to end it now as we speak. We are asking that all well-meaning voices that respect the operation of the rule of law should call on the Attorney General to put an end to this immediately. The Attorney General is not expected to start off by prejudicing an investigation and in his mind conducting an inquisition on suspects. Since when did we have an Attorney General who himself orders arrest, conducts investigations, and examines his own evidence to determine if a prima facie case is being documented or docketed against a suspect? This is highly improper and leads to bias right from the investigation process. Let the court decide the guilt or innocence of suspects. The new approach where the Attorney General seeks to convict political opponents in the court of public opinion before going to the court of competent jurisdiction is an abomination that should not be countenanced.
And I have heard the minority, nitpick some of what is being done. And it is their right to do so. It is their right. I mean, I don't think if you were on the other side, if you were on the side of the minority, if you were on the side of Dr. Adu-Boahene, Kenoforiata, or now, I don't think Dr. Addison, I don't think you would feel, oh, yeah, come, let's do this. You would feel pushed to the wall. But while we also, and that's why we're in a democracy, no one is saying that just because the Attorney General has done this or said this, he is in the right and people can be thrown into jail or something of the sort. That is why we have the courts. So in the end, if you have evidence, let's go to the courts, let's deal with the evidence, and he whom the cap fits, let him wear it. That's the bottom line. But the minority is entitled to its opinion. Let's respect that as a people. But I think the ultimate arbiter should be the courts. The courts should do a diligent job, and he who has squandered must pay. That's it.
On the accusation of the Attorney General being prejudiced, I think Justice Remsa yesterday on PM Express was saying that it's not unusual because the Attorney General goes to courts with a stance, and all the time they have a stance on any case. Now I'm quoting him that they take to courts. They have their position. The Attorney General is not an arbiter who is required to be fair and not to prejudice a case. That was Justice Remsa explaining, or should I say defending, the Attorney General, whether or not he has a stance before the case is tried in court proper. Let me rush through.
Just a quick thought, though. I do like what the Attorney General is doing.
You do?
Here's why. Sometimes, in the past, sometimes you wouldn't have that much information. It's not everything they can say, because there are certain things that cannot be put into the public domain, and you also don't want to compromise the case or paint a certain picture before you go to court. However, I feel some of what is being done will also make the populace know. We said we would do this. this is what in respect of this specific person. I mean, in respect of Dr. Addison, in respect of Ken Ofori-Atta, we know at least what, we don't know so many details. I guess it has proceeded further with Adu-Boahene, and that is why we are seeing this. Some things cannot be said on that pulpit, right? It will be said in court. But it is good for the people of Ghana to also know, because when you go on social media, go and read the comments under some of these things. People want to know if indeed someone was able to buy all of these houses at a point, pay $1 million, $500,000. Was that his money? If that's his money, leave him alone. Let him enjoy his largesse. But if it is our money that was being expended, you know, like you are buying cocoa, then the people of Ghana, we take issue with that. And we want to follow this to the end. And this is where also, if you start this kind of charge and you say someone has done this, and you are not able to follow through, then we take you as well on, because then based on what were you operating. But I think it is good. The more the people get to know what is happening, the more our leaders will sit up. The more you educate the people, the more they will hold you to account. And those are problems we have here. Because if people are not highly educated, people will do politics with Galamsey. Oh, I am in Crawford, MPP, Yenyedi. I am in Crawford, NDC, Yenyedi. No. If we are getting to that point, let's push it full throttle and do it. Do what must be done. That's it.
Well, they did come into office on the back of accountability, transparency, and jobs. But I know the arguments that the lawyers of Adu-Boahene are making is that the Attorney General is exposing the wealth of their clients before they've even established a connection between these houses and, these alleged criminals. So let's wait and see how it all plays out in court. I did say alleged. Revitalizing research in education in Ghana, celebrating Nana Konadu Agyeman Rawlings on International Women's Day. My story. You really should pick a copy of the Daily Graphic and read this for yourself. ICU regional conferences to herald 12th Quadrennial Delegates Conference. Kwewu Professionals Network elects new executive. And Bono Chiefs pledge to support regional minister to deal with Galamsey. Lastly, UNIMAC students unite against single-use plastic. Students of the Institute of Journalism campus of the University of Media, Arts and Communication, that's UNIMAC GIJ, last Saturday converged on the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Omanyaba Hall to propose fresh, innovative solutions against single-use plastics menace in the country. And that brings to mind that interview I had with Professor Kluche, where she said that they're going to begin phasing out the use of plastics in this country, as is done in other parts of the world where you can't use plastic past a certain point at the airports. That will be it for me for the Daily Graphic. Ben, let's do your paper now.
Oh, and I also see some people talking about we can do same procurement for rice consumed by senior high schools. So you know that procurement is one of our biggest areas where corruption takes place. And recently, Sarah Dwasafo was speaking about school feeding and some of those developments. The courts will deal with those issues, but the sort of rot that I have heard has happened in some instances, I think ought to be investigated. And this ought not to be overlooked, because I know people in the erstwhile administration who spoke to me. You remember during COVID, we spoke about this free feeding, the feeding, they had a name for it, where they were feeding people on that
cooked
thing,
rice in packs.
That thing, I'm saying it here, that thing ought to be really looked into. Whoever is looking into some of those things, they ought to look there as well. Free advice. Anyway, the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Ghana Health Service records 20,599 TB cases in 2024, 90% cured in historic feat. It's interesting, isn't it? Because just yesterday, we're celebrating or talking about World TB Day. I nearly said oral health, because we did that sometime before. And the rates are falling from 40,000+, but we still need a lot of work to be done, because seriously, if one person has it, so many people are in danger. One person can quickly spread it through sputum, through air, to so many people within
COVID.
It's like COVID. And the consequences are dire. If TB starts wasting your body, Charlie, it's crazy. And we often take it, a cold and a cough, common cough or something. If you are seeing certain symptoms, please. And the good thing, I think they mentioned, the treatment is free. The DOTS treatment is free. So
it has been for a really long time. I remember growing up, there was even a song they would play on TV. Tuberculosis is a curable disease. Visit your nearest hospital. I remember it because that's when I learned about TB. So take advantage of the free, healthcare that you be getting if you have tuberculosis, and don't let this disease take your life or take your life away from you while you're still living. It's really important.
I'll just get into a few details about that story. The other stories we basically looked at, so I'll not belabor the point. But Ghana recorded 20,599 tuberculosis cases last year, with over 90% of diagnosed patients successfully treated and cured. The milestone, which is the first in the history for the country, also saw a decline in TB-related deaths to 5.1%, a significant improvement from previous years, where mortality rates ranged between 8 and 10%. And of course, the theme for this year, yes, we can end TB, commit, invest, deliver. I guess commit, all of us, invest, government invest more, and let's all deliver. President tasks Ghana Armed Forces Council to prioritize discipline, integrity, and military. Minority accuses AG of overstepping legal mandate. You've already done that story. Former NSB DG, that's the Director General, to appear before court for allegedly diverting 40 million Ghana cedis. That's according to the AG. We've also done that story. ECOWAS Commission initiative provides hot meals to Upper West Region deprived schools. And the ECOWAS Commission, through its Regional Agency for Agriculture and Food, has launched an initiative to provide hot meals to schools in deprived communities to help increase enrollment and provide quality education in deprived communities in the Upper West region. The 3-year project is being implemented by the Millennium Child Support Program, a non-governmental organization in partnership with the Ghana School Feeding Program, with funding from the Spanish Cooperation through the ECOWAS's RAAF, that's the Regional Agency for Agriculture and Food. You know, they say there is more blessing in giving than receiving. Sometimes I ask myself, I think it was under Atta Mills when there was something, was it in Haiti? Was it the hurricane or something? And I think it was alleged that Ghana had made some donation to our brothers and sisters there. You know, they trace their roots to Africa, and there was some hue and cry. You can go as far back as Nkrumah and the whole claims about Guinea and Mali and supposedly helping these countries out. But we are always on the take. When, you know, there's a certain dignity. They say the only time you should look down on someone is when you are helping them up. But we, dear, we are always cupping hand. Miss Remo, every day. The Spanish Cooperation is helping here. USAID, they pull the plug. There's chaos here and there, not just in Ghana, though, to be fair. But when do we get to the point where we can also say, we are helping another? Hey.
As an individual, it's very difficult for me to even ask for help and say that, oh, Mami Sikanko, you say, or Namga Mawala. But I live in a country where that's like our modus operandi. All the time we are cup in hand asking for help. Ben, I'm not taking the wind out of your sail. Please continue.
Well, Krachi East residents appeal to government for new ferry. And this is also quite a situation. Residents of Krachi East have appealed to the government to replace the current ferry at Dambai with a new one to enhance transportation in the area. Speaking on behalf of the residents of the OT regional capital, Dambai, the chief at Dambai, Togbe Batalija, said the situation has gone from bad to worse since November 2024, as traders were stranded for 4 to 5 days, hoping that the pontoon would be repaired within a short period. If you've ever used that stretch, you would understand that, look, if this happens, it means some people's businesses are basically going to be grounded. And I think this is something that ought to be looked at. If you even see the state of the pontoon and rust and a few things, Economy Times, I'm going to blaze through the rest and then we can cap it off. Benchmark oil production pegged at 127,000 barrels per day at price of $74.70 per barrel. Legal framework for gold board ready for parliamentary consideration. You remember the story and some conversations about, okay, so where's the legality in terms of their work? And then the central bank ceding that aspect of, gold and all of that to them. So amid calls for clarity on the structure, purposes and activities of the Gold Board, referred to simply as Gold Board, being established by the President John Dramani Mahama administration, legislative proposals have now been drawn up for consideration by Parliament, which will be required to turn them into law. However, it is still unclear what the process, the timelines for this process is, since the bill has not yet been formally presented to Parliament. With gold prices having passed $3,000 per ounce last week for the first time, Ghana is looking up to gold industry revenues to make up for the ongoing slump in cocoa revenues and stagnant oil revenues. And then illegal mining fight takes a new turn as government academia introduce new approach. So what's that? And then I'll come to you, Sweetie, for your thoughts. As efforts are intensified to end illegal mining in Ghana, especially in forest reserves, cocoa growing areas and along water bodies, government is taking steps to ban all forms of mining in forest reserves. In supporting these political efforts through the use of legal regimes and security task forces, academia has committed to a new approach. The Minister for Environment Science, it goes on and on, last week assured Ghanaians that there were steps to repeal LI 2462, which permits mining in forest reserves. Let me go to page 10. I want those details before we... But he says, we have actually started the process. I engaged the ranking member. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Meanwhile, the University of Ghana, in its effort to engage in multidisciplinary research that addresses societal challenges, has launched a 2-year project to tackle the pressing issue of illegal mining in Ghana. Led by a team of 5 researchers from the university, the Anti-Galamsey project seeks to address the menace of illegal mining through research, advocacy, and the application of linguistic and cultural strategies. So I guess let's fight it from all fronts. How do you feel about that?
Did we not know what it would take to fight Galamsey going into election 2024? Did we not know? Did Ghana Medical Association, all these trade unions and anti-Galamsey campaigners not list out a number of demands, or, they did the work, they brainstormed, they did the assessment, and they came out with solutions that these are the steps that, if we take, will help us eradicate this menace from the country. Fast forward, it's March ending 2025, and we are seeing different approaches to fighting this illegal mining menace. And Benjamin, I don't know if you watch Newsfile, the minister sought to sort of explain what implications that we will suffer if we revoke the LI 2462 completely, which is why they were amending. And I listened to Aula Sewa say that perhaps the government or the minister is being misled, because if you look at what the ask was, revoke LI 2462, ban all small-scale mining across board. Something about removing...
Which was highly contested. The small-scale miners said that, Charlie, we are not into legal mining, though we know that in some instances there have been issues with that.
But the things that were requested and the way this government is approaching the fight to illegal mining, now we are hearing of some sort of research, team.
But this is academia. This is the University of Ghana on its own saying we are joining the fight. This is what we are bringing to bear. Has nothing to do with government.
It's okay. I'm just saying that what we're asking for, what we need to be done, the declaration of a state of emergency and all these other, these were things that were demanded. And I believe that a president bought into it. He said that he was going to revoke LI. And I'm listening to Aula Sewa say it and repeated it. The president specifically said they were going to do all these things. And now he's in office. And of course, they're coming down on these illegal miners. They're seizing excavators. Forestry Commission said 55. As at the time that statement was put out, 55 excavators and so on and so forth. That is even come under question, whether or not we should ban these excavators or we should keep them and use them as a way of tracking or as evidence to prosecute perpetrators. And I think it's time that you actually give Ghanaians what they're asking for. Otherwise it's just, we said that the SO administration was gaslighting us because they would do something and try to explain it as some other way. And is this not mirroring, what they were doing? We are saying declare state of emergency, revoke LI, stop mining, all small-scale mining for a proper assessment on how we want to approach this. You are seizing excavators, making amendments to the LI that actually grants permission to enter the forest reserves in the first place. So I'm not particularly too excited about our approach to this fight. it is giving us some results, but is that really what it will take to eradicate completely this menace? Those are questions that I want to be asking.
So we had members of the NDC come into our studios and, wax lyrical about, I remember back then, yes, but it's a state of emergency and all of that. We are simply asking that the same zeal they applied before the elections, they should apply same now. In fact, if you look at something that Arusha Ghana put out, why LI 2462 must be revoked in its entirety, they talk about how it allows mining in forest reserves without boundaries. They talk about the regulation allowing mining in all types of forest reserves, including protected and production forests alike. I'm just summarizing. The specific access granted for mining globally, forests having non-renewable resources that provide clean air, water, and climate regulation, and the fact that LI 2462 was passed without inclusive public engagement. The erstwhile administration passed it, kind of like the e-levy structure. It lacks legal authority, they say. It contradicts national and international commitments when it comes to biodiversity. It encourages irresponsible mining practices and weakens environmental safeguards. So there's a lot more to be looked at. And I think it was yesterday also that you mentioned that it's not just about what has been said in the past. We want to see the actual actions on the ground. And there's a difference between completely revoking and
amending.
Yeah. You get it. So we need some clarity on those moves and what the way forward would be. Just some quick stories. Adu-Boahene calls for arrest of chiefs and others involved in Galamsey. That's the Adu-Boahene and president of the Bono Regional House of Chiefs, Osajefo Osiadeyo Ajimambedu II. Then interesting. First Black Republican Congresswoman dies at 49. That's on page 5 of the Ghanaian Times. I just went back. The New Republic talks about some of the stories we've already done. Crackdown in NPP. Adu Asafo's forced silence reveals party's dictatorial inclinations. And then concerned parents seek removal of Home Municipal Education Director. The Catalyst, Oral bites raw. This headline, Oral bites raw. It doesn't use braces. It bites raw. Punch newspaper. There's President Mahama pledges economic transformation for Northern region and more. That's it from my end.
Right, and the Overseer, just one story here, says only 48% of produced water gets to final consumer. And I'll just skip to the part where he says the remaining 52% is lost due to various challenges, including pipeline leakages, illegal connections, and inefficiencies in the distribution structures. Just like our economy, it is Ikaso, but inefficiencies, leakages, and so on and so forth. We're always going cap in hand, begging for alms. That's our time for the news review segment on the AM show this morning. My guest, Benjamin Akakpo, joined me for this conversation. Please stick and stay.
We'll be back with more action. Sports comes your way up next.